Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to Grapevine Movie Reviews, where we only review the movies that we haven't seen. If you haven't been with us before, what we do is the group of us will usually go see a movie. One person will be chosen as the odd person out. That person doesn't get to see the movie, but everybody else goes and checks it out. They all get back together. We all have a discussion about the movie. And then the person that didn't see it will decide whether or not they want to go see the film based on the reviews of everybody that did see it. Now, this week we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to do the winter version of our summer movie roundup. Therefore, it's the winter movie roundup. We've all seen a bunch of different movies. These are a bit smaller movies that we haven't gotten a chance to do bigger reviews for. Sure. Yeah, we haven't gotten a chance to do these reviews for these smaller movies. So we're going to kind of knock them all out here. We're each going to nominate a movie that we saw that we really enjoyed. And we're just going to talk about it. And for most of the movies, I think for all the movies, there's at least one of us that hasn't seen it. A couple of them, there's two that haven't seen the movies. And they'll basically talk about whether or not they want to go see the movies based on our kind of truncated reviews in this big roundup podcast. So I'm Matt. I'm going to be putting forward today The Disaster Artist, and I'm joined by
Mariana, and I'll be talking about the best movie of the year, Lady Bird.
I don't know about that. I'm Yash. Three billboards outside of Missouri.
Andrew, and I'll be talking about the best movie, the actual best movie of the year, which is Coco.
And I'm Michael, and I'm going to be talking about a decent movie called Murder on the Orient Express.
There you go. So those are the 5 movies we're going to be talking about today. I guess we're going to start off with The Disaster Artist, which is the movie that I'm putting forward.
Los Angeles, everybody want to be star. You have to be the best and never give up.
When I get up on stage in front of people, all I can think about is, what if they laugh at me? You, man, you're fearless. I want to feel that too.
I don't care. I'll do it. You and me, we both have this dream.
Yeah, I guess we do.
That we'll be famous. We'll show them. Watch out, here we go.
I saw that movie a couple days ago. It was it's the most recent of these movies, actually, that's come out. It's a movie about the making of one of what is regarded as the best worst movie of all time, The Room.
You mean Michael Cimino's Heaven Gate?
No, The Room, starring Tommy Wiseau. Well, starring Tommy Wiseau, directed by Tommy Wiseau, written by Tommy Wiseau, produced by Tommy Wiseau. Edited by Tommy Wiseau. So it's a full-out Tommy Wiseau production. This movie is starring James and Dave Franco. They play Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero, who are the stars of The Room. And it's basically just about how they met, how they got together the idea to make The Room, and how they basically made it, and how they became friends with each other over time. Now, it's a pretty interesting movie in the sense that, like, there are things that happen behind the scenes that I didn't really know about. But what I got the sense of watching the movie is that they focus a lot on the friendship between the two guys more than the movie itself. Like the making of The Room. Because the making of The Room, it kind of jumps back and forth between scenes with Tommy and Greg, and then scenes of the making of The Room, which are very, very funny. Like all the behind-the-scenes stories. I enjoyed the movie. I laughed a lot at it because it's a really good comedy. There's a lot of good jokes in there about just how stuff that happened on set when they were making the movie. I found the relationship between Greg and Tommy to be kind of weak in the sense that I didn't understand, given what was happening on set, why Greg continued to make this movie and continued to be friends with Tommy, while they demonstrate many times in the movie that Tommy is kind of a lunatic. And while I enjoyed it and I laughed and I had a great time with it, there was stuff in the movie that I kind of wanted a little bit more, but I was very captivated by the performance of James Franco. Now, a couple other people have seen this movie. Mariana, what are your thoughts on the movie?
Overall, I think I laughed a lot in this movie, and I did find it overall very funny. I think the weakest part of this movie would be Dave Franco himself.
That's fair.
Both as it just seemed like he was playing James Franco instead of Greg Sestero. And I'd say, like, all the parts where they recreated the scenes, those were funny. Just in the way that they kept repeating it. And it was just like, if you'd had already seen The Room, it's already ridiculous in the fact that anyone would make this. But there's just their thought process and how they got to that point.
And it looks like to make this movie that they like reshot the movie.
Yeah. Not even. That's what I was gonna say. It's like it's so precise.
I think they did 70% of shot-for-shot recreation. Not for the movie. There's a lot that they didn't put in the movie.
Sure.
But I think they have, like, on the cutting room floor 70% of the movie.
This is James Franco. Like James and Dave Franco and the crew of this movie that were playing all the actors in the room. Literally, shot for shot, for, like, about 70% of the movie, redid scenes from the room with, like, eerie accuracy. It's, like, 99% accurate to, like, even the pacing of the conversation.
Did you watch the original?
Yeah. Of course I've watched The Room. I feel like you can't watch this movie without seeing the original Room, because then it won't really make sense to you.
I've done that.
I think
that's what I did.
Okay.
I think this movie works also if you didn't watch The Room.
Yeah.
Because just the fact that it says based on a true story, like whether or not you believe that, in other movies, for example, but just the thought that somebody acts this way and is, like, there is a person out there who is like this. If you've seen any interviews or, like, any Tommy Wiseau, that's how, like, if anything, like, it's not hard to imagine that James Franco is playing a real person. And it's just ridiculous, like, when you see these scenes being reenacted, even if you haven't watched the original, it's like, how did this movie get made? Yeah. Where's his money coming from? Like, how is any of this? And I obviously, as a person who's watched The Room, I enjoyed a lot more of the things, like the shot-for-shot recreations. I got more enjoyment from that. So I don't know how that would work to someone who didn't watch it. But I still think it would work on that level.
How did it work for you, Vyash?
I like it. I love watching these. Well, I'm a big fan of, like, how a movie was made, especially if it was a disastrous production.
That part of it.
I didn't appreciate that part of it. This is what I was gonna get into, because I felt like they focused too much on, like, just the wackiness of the Tommy Wiseau character.
Interesting.
And not they didn't look at the production as a whole. They kind of, like, put a magnifying glass to just this guy and his wackiness, which is, you know, he's the reason why the movie is the way it is, the good and the bad, But I felt like I wanted to see more, not just, like, reaction shots from the other people involved, but, like, what their thoughts were of Tommy Wiseau and why he's so crazy.
There's, like, one scene where they do that, but it's not enough. Like, it's one scene they're like, why are you, like there's a few secondary actors who are on the set, and they're like, why are you in this movie? Like, don't you see how crazy it is? Don't you see how bad the movie they are? And they're like, yeah, just had some free time, or like,
okay.
That was a nice scene where, like, she's like, we're actors, this is what we do.
Yeah,
we come and we play a role, and that's what we're supposed to do.
And we get paid.
And we get paid. But again, I see what Yash is saying about it, and, like, while I found the recreation stuff really funny, and I found, like, a lot of the behind the scenes little weird stuff that happened on set really great, I was hoping that there would be more of a story to it as far as a movie, and, like, I don't feel like they ever really delved into any of either of the characters of Tommy Wiseau or Greg Sestero.
In a sense, I gotta say, just having not seen it, I'm a little disappointed from what I'm hearing. I'm still gonna watch it. I'm excited to see it, but I think my excitement is dropping a little bit.
No, but overall, like, I'd say this.
It's still a good comedy.
It's one of my favorite theater experiences too.
Oh, okay,
just
that's,
it
that's
was
worth
just
something.
I think it depends on your audience, though, because I feel like you need a good group.
I think I saw it on opening night, so I think most of them were hardcore Room fans. But even then, I'd say just as a watching experience, like, I don't think you'd find any room for boredom, and it's pretty hilarious throughout.
It's
like,
definitely not boring.
So I think it's just mostly, like, the story, the like, Tommy and Greg relationship story that might not be as good as the recreation moments, but the movie itself is really fun to watch.
And I just feel like they tried too hard to humanize Tommy in this way, where I kind of wanted a story of... I wanted the story of why is Greg still doing this?
Yeah.
Like, as it's going on, I wanted to dive, because I have a theory that Greg is almost as crazy as Tommy. I think that Greg is almost as insane as he is. He just is able to hide it better, and like, just in a different kind of way. Like, I feel like they are both these kind of symbiotic... There's a symbiotic partnership of two people that want something that the other person has. Greg wishes he had the confidence of Tommy to just come and do whatever he wanted to do because he thinks what he's doing is great. And Tommy wants to look like Greg because he knows that he's a weird-looking dude and he doesn't have the classic American features. And he wants to just be the classic American, handsome movie star guy. So they've kind of latched on into each other in this weird symbiotic relationship where Greg kind of needs Tommy in order to, like, try to leech his confidence. And then Tommy wants to have Greg around in the sense that, like, if I have him around, he legitimizes my my appearance in the sense of like trying to be classic American acting.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting, but they don't really touch on that in this movie because they try to make them just be like, oh, isn't Tommy, he's weird, but he's sympathetic. He's just sad because he's not classically handsome.
Okay, let's go with Lady Bird.
I hate California. I want to go to the East Coast.
I want to go where culture is, like New York,
did I raise such
or at least Connecticut or New Hampshire, where writers live in the woods.
Get into those schools anyway.
Mom,
You should just go to City College. You know, with your work ethic, just go to City College and then to jail, and then back to City College, and then maybe you'd learn to pull yourself up and not expect everybody to do everything.
Lady Bird, is that your given name?
Yeah.
Why is it in quotes?
I gave it to myself. It's given to me by me.
Lady Bird always says that she lives on the wrong side of the tracks, but I always thought that was like a metaphor. But there are actual train tracks.
Okay. So Lady Bird is a movie about a girl in a Catholic high school. It's basically a coming-of-age story and also a slice of life. There's no major, like, life-changing moments. I mean, a bit. Like, there's acceptance at college. So that's big in normal human life, was that as a movie plot point, it's not, like, over-dramatic. So it follows the character called, played by Saoirse Ronan, who calls herself Lady Bird. Her real name is Christine. And it's mostly about a mother-daughter relationship and how, you know, she's not really in her rebellious phase, but you know that part in your life where you think your mother's against you.
Yeah.
And so the mother is a bit hard, but she's really caring and really has a good heart. And it's really how their dynamic. And then meanwhile, she's also dealing with her first boyfriend relationship and how that's going. But again, it's not a romance story. And it's really more of her development and her learning more about herself. And I'd say this is like, there's an actual arc and a learning moment. And there's just moments too, like, where it seems like a happy moment, but then it's like, for example, she wants to go to an out-of-state college, when if she gets accepted to that, that's good, but her family's struggling financially, so you see how her family's struggling, so it's like a happy and a like
bittersweet.
It's bittersweet because like this is a really good opportunity for her, but you can see how her family's struggling, and I'd say it's really of a family story, even though it's a focus on her and her friendships too.
Yeah, so it's me, you, and Michael that have seen this movie. I think Yash and Andy haven't seen it.
Or your guys' take on it?
I really actually enjoyed this movie, and I've seen it twice now.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to get a better view of everything that was happening in the movie. And in the second view, I saw more parallels from the beginning of the movie that they bring back at the end, and it felt more like a complete thing to me. Like I got the more complete vision of it.
And what is that?
I have a weird theory. Not spoilers, but I have a theory about the movie that the movie's subtly about depression.
Yeah.
And
how she bring it up a lot,
several times. There's several characters that she interacts with that have severe moments of depression, or where they straight up say not there's a point in the movie where somebody says to her, not all people are built happy, and I was like, wow, that's really dark. But
my favorite part about that is that although she's not dealing with depressions that we know of, it's just these normal people. And just that she wouldn't necessarily think of it, and every when she notices that they're dealing with depression, it's not like this huge moment of revelation, and it's not over dramatic. It's just I've been dealing with this for decades now, and it's just that's just something I deal with, and that's how a lot of the topics and subject matters are dealt with. It's just they don't put so much attention to it that it's not realistic anymore. It's just that's why I say it's a slice of life.
Yeah.
And I'd say the movie is mostly about the Lady Bird character realizing that she's not the center of the universe. A lot of people are having these issues around her and she doesn't notice, and she doesn't frankly care at the beginning. Yeah. And by the end of the movie, she becomes a person that notices and cares about people.
What it could be, do you think it could be the fact that she herself is struggling with some sort of mental
I absolutely
disorder
think
of some sort?
there's certainly some depressive side.
Whether it's anxiety, social anxiety,
like they were
depression.
saying, I think the way they make depression just a part of these characters rather than like a story point is really good in this movie.
But how does this movie like differ from like, because everyone's hyping it up to be like
a
Oscar thing?
Well, have you seen The Edge of 17?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, I'd compare it to that.
I'd say that's the most comparable. Where I mean, Edge of 17 had a big moment where it's like her best friend sleeping with her brother, and but other than that, it's like a coming of age. But I'd say this has less of a moment.
What I love about this movie is I think it is such a good. It's one of these movies that it takes just a picture of a person's life in a very specific moment,
which is basically her last year of high school, heading into college.
Everyone's so well developed where you can tell that everyone had lives before the movie started. Everyone's going to continue to have lives after the movie started, and you kind of want to see before and after just because
like
everything's so well done. It felt like,
and the relationships feel really lived in.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Like her relationship with her mom feels like there's years of.
It's probably my favorite part of the movie. Just these little moments between the mother-daughter.
You don't see many moments with the mom and dad together, but even then, I'm just like, I love the, I love the dad, and I love her brother and her brother's girlfriend. They're like.
The brother's girlfriend is sneakily one of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I saw one part of the movie when I was walked in on it, and it was like she was like threatening to move out of the house, and then he's like, "Give me write down all the dime that you write down all the money you spent on me," and I'm like, that's like a conversation I had with my dad. Like,
no, there's some really well done real moments. Like I think it captures what it's like to be a young person.
I think this is what it speaks to what you're saying. Like it's getting this buzz, and it has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and everybody
99 now because
everybody seems to love this movie. And I think the reason that everybody seems to love this movie is that everyone can relate to being a teenager about to go to college, not really sure what your identity is. Trying to figure out what you want to be, where you want to go, where you want to live, who you want to date, who you want to do, like who you want to hang out with your family. All these things, every person can relate to that. I feel like everybody that goes see this movie, even if you don't love the whole movie overall, there's going to be a piece of that growing up part where you're going to be like, I remember when I had to do that, or I was faced with a similar situation. And I think that's why everyone comes out of it feeling like they like it, because it feels like your life. You feel like you're watching your life in parts of the movie.
But like, it's not so much of a subplot. It's like part of their lives, like how she's middle to lower class, and how that just comes up. And obviously, parents fight about financial issues, and at some points they do. And she wants to go to out of state college. That's going to come up. That costs so much money, and it's just like there's just these like how her life is built outside of just the movie, and how like her character and her family is fully developed, and where you just see like pieces where it's like even if you don't live her life like she did, there's like moments here and there, like parts of her that you can all relate to.
Yep. I think it's a really well made movie. I just feel like it's a definite crowd pleaser.
I've been trying to see it. I'm sorry.
No worries. You get to talk about one you saw now. 3 Billboards.
Hey, you. What the hell is this?
Advertising, I guess.
I could arrest you right now if I wanted to.
Before you do that, how about you go have yourself a look at that first billboard over there?
So, Mildred Hayes, why did you put up these billboards?
My daughter Angela was murdered 7 months ago. It seems to me the police department is too busy torturing black folks and eating Krispy Kremes to solve actual crime.
Dixon, I'm in the middle of my goddamn Easter dinner. Sorry, kids.
I know, Chief, but I think we got kind of a problem.
3 Billboards. All right. So this movie's about 3 Billboards is a movie about a mother trying to find justice for her daughter's death. That's pretty much the gist of it, and it involves like the politics around this small town where the sheriff and the police have just given up because of lack of evidence, or I don't know why they've given up exactly, but they've given up. But the mother hasn't, and she's going through like extreme lengths to, egg them on into like pursuing the killer.
Well, I think the starting force of the part is that she puts 3 billboards directly saying, hey, the chief of police, and names him on the billboard. Why haven't you found her?
And this is what happened to her.
And then she's like, she was raped and murdered on a billboard.
Yeah.
And so obviously that, like, the town, if they drive by, they're like, chief of police.
And like what the movie really is about is like basically a cycle of violence where it's just like even well-intentioned things can make a spark within a community, especially one that's small and interconnected like that. And you just start seeing how it affects people. I really liked it. I think it's one of the best examples of dark comedy I've seen in quite a while.
I love
I was laughing at some horrible things.
He does amazing.
But he just, the way he presents these things, and it was such a great, just some of the political stuff in there it's nice.
I love how all the cops were
in there. But it doesn't bang over the head or even like condemn the people, because it even allows the worst of the characters to have their moments where you're like, okay, I get you. Well, like, I see your perspective.
Sam Rockwell's character, he's one of the sheriffs? No, not sheriff. One of the cops in...
he's one of the deputies.
Deputies, that's what it's called. In the small town. And he is, when you first see him, he is the definition of like... The bad cop, the retaliation against the police, because there's this image of like
a shitty cop.
Yeah, a shitty cop who racial profiling, like
not well trained,
will act on impulse or like personal bias.
And he's a drunk.
A drunk too, lives with his mother.
I don't think he was racist though. Like
he shows real racial like prejudice.
Yeah.
And then it balances it.
Okay.
Well, which is what the movie is. The movie is a balancing act.
Okay.
In the sense that, like,
you know what? Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't condone anything he does. It's just like, even though he is what you picture as a bad cop, there's a moment where he is something other than just that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the movie is a balancing act of these characters, basically. I believe all of us have seen it except for Andy. So I'll just tell you what the movie basically does. Is like, it starts characters off in these extreme places where, like, the sheriff, you really like him because you're like, I get why he's not going after that. Woody Harrelson's character, he's the sheriff. He's trying his best, and you feel bad for him in the sense that he's getting called out of these billboards because he did the best he could, and there's not really any evidence. He can't really figure it out, and he's been trying. It's not like he's just stopped. He's just like, I have nothing to go on, and you feel bad that he's getting called out in this. But then by the end of the movie, or by the end of his stuff for his character, he comes back towards the middle in the sense of like, I still like you, but I didn't like you as much as I did at the beginning because you're not perfect. There's nothing, like, you're not a perfect character. And like, who's Frances McDormand's character? She's the main lady whose daughter was killed. I can't remember what her name in the movie is. But she starts off in this very righteous place of like, she should want justice. Yeah, sorry?
Mildred Hayes.
I'm like, she deserves justice for her daughter. Her daughter was raped and murdered and like set on fire in the middle of this field, and no one gives a shit about it. And like they've all just moved on with it, and they expect her to just move on because it's been X amount of time. But then by the end of the movie, I'm like, you're kind of a shitty person.
Yeah, you should move on. Maybe.
Like, not just you should move on. No, I understand why no one cares because you're kind of a shitty person.
Yeah,
and like I understand like they cared about your daughter, but like you were kind of an asshole, and you're being you're an asshole when your daughter is alive, and you're an asshole now. And you're an asshole about your daughter being dead.
But not so much move on, but like the chief said,
he has no evidence. I can't do anything.
He has no list of suspects. He has nothing to go on. It's not even like
the body was burned. There's nothing there.
There's nothing
it's not like he had a place to start from and then he wasn't pursuing his list of suspects. He had no suspects. So like the fact that she was just like still antagonizing him, it was like, he can't do anything.
It sounds like they need to hire David Caruso.
And then, but also on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have it's called Sam Rockwell's character, who starts off bottom of the barrel, who's the worst, racist, terrible cop. By the end of the movie, I'm like, he still kind of sucks, but he's not that bad. I never thought I would get to that point.
And you see why he is the way he is, and you're like, oh, I get it.
I got it. And like, I really enjoyed the journey of this movie.
One thing I love about this movie, it doesn't play like a murder, like cop whodunit at all. It's more like you said, like with Lady Bird. It's a slice of life of everyone involved.
It's just about these people.
Yeah,
and I think one of the greatest things about the movie, I think it really captures what it's like to live in a small town. Like, cause I grew up in a city, obviously, and most of us have. And then lived in like a small town like that. Everyone in that town was a shithead. Like, almost everybody.
The newspaper guy.
The newspaper guy
is such a good side character.
Newspaper guy and Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage.
They were the only two, like, nice. That at least that we saw
Peter
in the movie.
Dinklage was
Like,
so.
He's criminally underused in this movie.
Yeah.
I think it's a movie that it sets out to do a specific thing and it does it. And what more can I ask?
And it doesn't go the place where you thought
it's not predictable either.
Yeah. So obviously, like it's not like usually in the third act. It's like, okay, we're getting close finally, and then it's all like they spend so much time trying to resolve it. And it doesn't go that way because it doesn't need to. It's much more about how these characters are dealing with it.
Mm-hmm. And it's legitimately funny. Like, there's a lot of laugh out loud moments with things that characters are saying to each other and doing. It's like, there's a lot of funny moments. And I don't know. I had a lot of hype going into the movie, and it didn't end up living up to the expectations that I had. But I still really enjoyed it, and I thought it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah. Okay, we got another murder on our hands.
Ooh.
And it's on a train. Murder on the Orient Express.
You know, there is something about that tangle of strangers, pressed together for days with nothing in common but the need to go from one place to another and never see each other again. I see evil on this train.
This is the one I'm pitching to you guys. You know, we're pitching a lot of movies that we like. I don't love this movie, but I think I think there's some really good things about it, which I think is why it's worth talking about. It's an Agatha Christie novel, murder on a train with a bunch of people, and world's greatest detective is on that train, and he's
on the case.
He's on the case, exactly. What more do you need to know? The core of this movie is I love Kenneth Branagh as the detective. I want to see another one, and they've greenlit it. I want to see him do this character again, and I love the way he directs it. It's a well shot movie. It's a well dialogued movie. Yeah,
I thought it was fun.
I
enjoyed a lot
really
of this movie.
enjoy most of this movie. Here's the core of it, though. I think this plot line, there's a reason it stood out the test of time. It's not meant to be the start, the introduction to this character.
Which
I think it works
totally
beautifully.
agree with you,
If this is the 4th or 5th novel that you've read in her collection with this character, I think you read or watch an episode, you watch a bunch of standard whodunit mysteries, and then you hit this one, and it's something different, and I think that stands out.
Yes.
As the first in a franchise,
it's confusing.
Potentially, it's a weird place to start, because this is fundamentally, once you figure out the mystery, and I don't want anyone spoiling it, but it's not technically a whodunit murder mystery.
No.
Once it all comes together. And then it kind of leaves you. You're like, I came here for a whodunit murder mystery. So I think that's the main problem. But everything else, I like so many things. I like all the acting. I like Kenneth Branagh. So.
I don't know. Because you, both Michael and Matt, I don't know about you, Yash.
I like it.
Okay, but, okay. Well, like, you, I know you two, you were saying how you liked how his performance was kind of, like, joyful. But, I don't know, just for me, it seemed so hokey, but it took itself so seriously, and it just didn't mesh. No, but that's how
I see how you see that. No, I think that's part of the reason I like it.
No, but then just watching it, it was just like, I was like, the acting is not matching with the style and the tone for me. It just, there was never a part where it connected, and the entire movie, I was like, and okay, so this is not a spoiler, but, so everyone on the train, of course, there's a murder on the Orient Express, and he starts interrogating each character, and I felt that every beat, like, it was all the same. It was like, he would ask one, he'd be like, and then they'd be like, oh, I don't know this person, I have no connection to them, and then he'd, like, notice a detail, like, maybe a pocket watch, and he's like, oh, you only got that pocket watch at this one store that this person who was murdered got it, and then she's like, you're right, I am secretly from his past, but I'm not related to this murder. And it's like, so he'd interrogate, they'd deny it, he'd find a detail, they'd admit that he knew the person.
But is that a flaw in his character?
No, but I'm saying, every person he interrogated went through that exact stage.
But I think that's a flaw with the story again. Yeah. And not necessarily a flaw. It's you shouldn't start with this.
Yeah, because that's the inevitable part of this story.
To Kenneth Branagh's credit, I think the fact that he basically, there was this very formulaic way, but he shot each one of them very differently and interestingly. He did all the locations you could possibly do on a train.
Yeah.
So I
different styles of shots, like from panning outside.
Yeah.
All these different angles that he did shot the train from was very interesting. I thought there was just a lot of great character work in this movie. Yeah. I love a lot of the characters.
I love Kenneth Olaf. What's his Josh Gad?
Oh, Josh Gad. Yeah, he was better than I was expecting him to be. I thought Willem Dafoe is a really I haven't sung his praises enough about how much I like him in this movie because he's very interesting to begin with, and then there's a turn for his character where I'm like, oh,
and it
was just really kind of interesting, and I liked it. And I was like, okay, I love Kenneth Branagh just as a detective. I loved him in his room reading his Dickens, just giggling to himself. It was just a delightful watching experience. And I agree with Michael that the mystery leaves you feeling a little bit cold because it's not exactly what I'd expect from the first story about this detective. But I feel like there's so much good character work from a lot of different people. I even appreciated the guy Leslie Odom Jr., who is from he's from the Hamilton musical, and he's a stage actor. He's a doctor in this movie.
He's a doctor, yeah.
And I even appreciated the fact that I'm watching him in this movie, and he's being very stagey. He's walking around, he's being very demonstrative, and his lines, he's projecting them really big. But it works
because he's a doctor. And he's holding himself to a certain standard.
Yeah.
So it works.
So I really enjoyed just all the performances in the movie. I don't think there's, if there's anything I could say that I didn't like about the movie is, they bring in Dame Judi Dench, and she's criminally underused. She's she has 3 lines.
She's in one scene.
She's 3 lines, has 1 scene. I'm like, oh, why'd you get her then? It's a lot of money.
In the end, I don't think it's a great movie.
Yeah, no.
But I think it leaves me wanting to see it.
It just didn't click with me.
Not a big role. One of my favorite things I've seen him in a long time.
I didn't hate him, which is very good for me.
That is a big.
I actually just acted like a normal person for once.
I actually haven't seen this movie.
Yes.
Only because I saw that Johnny Depp was in it.
Yes. He's not in a lot of it, and while he's in it, he's not doing Johnny Depp things.
All right.
So it's like a good performance.
So let's go on to the final one. It's Coco.
Dia de los Muertos has begun. It's the one night of the year our ancestors can come visit us.
I thought it might have been one of those made-up things. I was just...
Tonight is about family.
I am not like the rest of my family. There's something that makes me different. Great-great-grandfather, I want to be a musician, just like you.
All right, who's in there?
I'm sorry. Welcome to the land of your ancestors.
Miguel?
We're your family. You're skeletons.
Alrighty then.
Coco.
I'm in love with the Coco as well. Now, another murder mystery. But this time,
it's a children's
murder of someone's soul and love for music.
That's true.
What? Is this the plot?
This is the plot of the movie. Basically, it's actually the movie. So Coco is actually the grandmother of Miguel, who the movie is about. And now Miguel grew up in this traditional Mexican shoemaking family, and he comes from a long lineage of powerful women. And it started with his great-great-grandmother, who was left behind with her young daughter, Coco, by a musically driven husband who left the family to be a star. And from that day, she said, I will never need a man in my life. She grew one of the biggest shoemaking empires in all of Mexico, saying, also, I will never let music ruin my family ever again. Oh. And she never allowed anyone to play music, hum, whistle, tap on their knee. It doesn't matter what. If it had a musical tone to it, you were getting boxed.
Yeah.
Right? You were getting the changala, which is just a slipper slapped to the head. Now,
all the women in this movie, they throw shoes.
They're
very accurate. And they're very accurate. Sorry, I didn't do a justice. It's called La Changla. That is what it's actually called. Now, the reason why I love this movie...
Like, you should talk about, like, the holidays surrounded it.
Oh, so it is the Mexican Day of the Dead. Now, there is some good backstory because I never knew why this was actually came about. It is one way to honor the dead and to bring your family back from the dead on that one day so that you can celebrate their life and like celebrate
you leave a
with
feast
them.
So that your dead family members can eat them.
Right. So you leave, there's a shrine basically in everyone's house, and basically the way that they told the story is if you put a picture up there on the shrine,
on the ofrenda,
that allows them to pass over from the spirit life to you to be able to spend that evening with you.
Yeah.
Now, if your picture is not up there, eventually that means that you are being forgotten by people. Mm-hmm. And if it happens for long enough, you will just die a second death.
Yeah,
so you will die in death.
Yes.
Right.
Which is, it's a little heartbreaking. I'll tell you.
So it follows Miguel, who all he wants is to just play music. He's in love with his favorite musical star, Ernesto de la Cruz. And remember me. And just the music in it, it's visually stunning. It's touching to the heart, to the soul, honestly,
it's a very nice movie.
It has to be.
I'm gonna go watch it now.
It is amazing because and I think earlier we talked on Lady Bird and we discussed the fact that it's not anything special. It's basically just your life in a snapshot. Everyone can. Matthew brought up a good point, and same with Mariana, that everyone can relate to a little bit of Lady Bird. You remember this time in your life when you were struggling, and there was a time where you didn't know what the heck you were going to do in your life. And in this movie, I think that's why it touched many people. Because there's a lot of things in this world that your parents just don't understand what you're going through. You're at that time in your life where you want to be independent. Your parents telling you can't be. You're like, well, I'm just going to do it. I don't care. I don't need you. I hate you. Why are you trying to hold me back? When it's really not your parents that are trying to hold you back. They're from their standpoint trying to protect you.
Because they've gone through it. But then the thing is, they don't let you go through the same experience.
Yeah.
So
Right.
So you need to learn from your mistakes, and a lot of times your parents try to stop you from making that mistake in the first place.
Exactly.
Which I think in Coco, that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
No music. The music ruined things and
ruined their family.
Ruined it. Ruined.
But there is a very key point to the reason why they were stopping it. Yes, they were going to the extreme. However, it basically on the basics of it is, be careful when you idolize false prophets. When you idolize these stars, these celebrities that you don't know anything about. You love their music, yes, and that's fine. You can love that. And maybe we're going to extreme stopping you from listening to music or humming or liking their music. But remember, you have to be your own person. And in the end, that celebrity isn't your family. Your family is what is important. Right? So both sides had to learn something. They had to learn that the music wasn't that bad, and he had to learn that his family is more than, I hate you, you're stopping me from playing music. Right? And it was just beautiful how they tied everything in. It got me.
Well, it got everybody.
I went downstairs to grab a cold pop, and then
didn't get you.
Got me.
It didn't. No. I love this movie, but everybody that I've talked to about it has been like, I cried. I was like, I don't know where you cried.
I cried. What do you mean you don't know where they cried?
I don't know.
I think this movie has one of the best emotional moments of any Pixar
And the
movie.
thing is, the criticism I hear, a good criticism that I hear in a lot of Pixar movies is how it's so emotional. But I never really related to any Pixar movie. Like, I didn't care much for Inside... Inside Out was good, but I didn't care for
The
Bing
Good
Bong.
Dinosaur?
Yeah.
That made me bawl like I was like, why am I crying in a movie?
Okay, anyways.
Yeah, but the story of Good Dinosaur is very good.
Right.
The story is really great.
But for Coco, what I found different from other Pixar movies where instead I knew exactly what it was doing to me. And like 20 minutes before I started the crying, I'm like, I know exactly what you're doing. I know what you're gonna do. I'm not gonna cry.
You're really good. While I'm wiping my tears.
And then as the moment happened, I could start to feel my throat getting clogged up. And then I'm like, no, I knew they were gonna do that. And then the tears were coming down. I'm like, no. And the thing is, I saw it coming.
It's obvious.
It's very
obvious. It's not sad. Yeah. It's a touching, sentimental moment.
Damn.
And the thing is, my son is a hard kid to and I looked at when it got to the part, about 20 minutes before the part, like Mariana was saying, I saw him sitting up in his chair, bright-eyed, wondering, with despair on his face, please don't do this to me. And then when it did it, he was tears just started gushing from his eyes. And I turned around and I said, are you crying? Because I was crying. I was crying as well. I was crying as well. And he said, no, my eyes were just watering. Beautiful moment. Oh, yeah. Beautiful moment.
The moment is beautiful. It just didn't make me cry. I almost cried. I almost cried. I got the tears in my eyes at the very end when everything turns out well. And then still,
I cried there too.
It's very few times where I cry when I'm kind of so happy at the end of the movie. I was like, this is so nice.
No, but the thing is, I cried during that moment and up to the end.
Yeah, exactly. I just didn't stop.
Yeah, no, again, this movie, I think the greatest strength of this movie is its energy. There is an energy to this movie, and it just moves.
And
it just moves, and it's always moving, and it's visually very well done.
The Land of the Dead is beautiful.
The best part about this movie is the reason why I didn't cry for the other movies, Pixar movies, is because the other Pixar movies always try to play you with the death itself is sad.
Right, yeah.
And then this movie is about the Day of the Dead, so it's sad in that way, but that's not what made me cry. It's just they actually built the relationships, and you actually cared about it, and so you cared about these character interactions, and they built up the characters. So it's not necessarily your death that makes you cry, and that's not why.
It's the memory,
that's not why I cried, and that's not what happened.
And I just want to touch on one little small point. This got my eyes watering. Fans, watch out for it. And when you watch it, watch out for it. And if you guys remember this scene, they went to find the guitar.
Oh, yes.
In the dilapidated area of the Day of the Dead. It's where all the souls that don't have their picture up on one of the stand, they send them there to basically be we don't want to see you.
Because no one remembers them.
Because no one remembers you and you're disgusting. So even there's a class system in the dead. So they go there to get this, and the guy's lying in an old beat up boat in a hammock kind of
on
boat.
The boat, yeah.
And he's basically I'll give you my guitar if you sing me a song. And at this point, we have no clue what the guy that's about to sing is. We don't know what he is to the story at this point. And he picks up the guitar and plays him a song, and then the guy just passes away. He dies his second death. And he pours 2 shots of rum and drinks one and leaves it there. Not only is that part touching, but it's also a metaphor for the future on why, remember, he poured the shot. Yeah. Right? And I just think everything ties together. Oh my goodness. Beautiful.
And again, the story, I think, is actually really...
Yeah.
It's really well put together. In the entire crux of the movie, he meets this guy when he goes to the world of the dead.
Who is it? Brad Bird again, or who's the director?
I don't know who the director is. But Miguel, he meets this guy when he goes to the world of the dead, and the guy's basically I need
Lee Unkrich.
He's trying to sneak over. He keeps on trying to sneak over, even though his picture's not on an ofrenda. And the reason why he's trying to sneak over is because he wants to go find his daughter, who is the only person left that remembers him, and it's the only reason he's still alive. And if he doesn't get over to see her one more time because she's old and she's gonna die, if she dies, then he's gonna disappear and he's never gonna get to see her again because she's gonna go to the land of the dead and he won't be there now because she forgot him and she's not alive.
Yeah,
and I'm that's a really well, just as a story, it's really nice perfectly.
Yeah, and then Miguel's trying to help him.
Oh yeah,
he's getting something out of it because he's trying to find the singer, and
it's really good.
It's good stuff. I also love there are a lot of little things where it doesn't flat out tell you something, but you'll like see something and you're like, oh, I put that together. Like the reason that his pet dog is named, there's an actual reason for it.
Yeah, because the horse of Dela Cruz in the movie.
What a cool little thing, because you just see in the movie playing, you're like, oh, I know that name.
Right.
So
it
just works.
I'd say it's not so much a negative. The reason why I wouldn't say this movie's perfect is just because if you've seen Pixar movies, it always starts with somebody's in one environment, like he's in the real world, gets put into this, like same thing with Toy Story, it's they get put in the outside world, you see the secret life of something you've never seen before, and then it's like you have this time limit that you have to quickly get out of it and go back to where you normally came from. And I feel like that, like the basic thread of the plot is like
the basic
the basic thread is what you've seen before.
They've gotten a lot of
but I'm saying what they improved is the characters and the emotional moments, and again they added a lot more to that basic.
And again, it goes to you for movies in general. Like, a lot of movies follow traditional roads you've been down many times before.
And like
what
I
makes
said,
a movie
you
great
saw the
is
moment coming.
how the journey on the road.
The journey.
If I'm in the car, I'm in the car, I drive the same roads every day, but sometimes a good song comes on the radio, and now my drive's a little bit better because I'm having more fun in the car. And it's kind of just how this kind of works. Is the journey is what needs to work. It's not so much the road we're going down, because let's face it, most movies, the road maps are all made. There's no new territory to go down.
Oh, the biggest negative is the Frozen short in front of it.
Actually, I saw the one without the Frozen. I saw the one without
finally, the one I saw was in front, and it's a 22-minute short with 6 songs in it, and it doesn't stop.
Is it?
It's 6 songs!
You said it's Frozen, right?
Yeah, it's Frozen, and it's so
Frozen
annoying.
Adventure.
It's Olaf. I didn't like Olaf and Frozen. I didn't need a full short, but thankfully now they've moved it to after the movie, so you don't have to sit through that.
And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. I think we touched on a lot of movies that we liked. I definitely think a couple people are going to go check out some of these movies. The ones that haven't seen the movies we talked about today.
I'm definitely going to see Lady Bird and the 3 Billboards.
Mm-hmm. So those are the movies that we saw this winter that we wanted to let you guys know about. And we're going to close it out by saying I'm Matt.
Mariana.
Yosh.
Andrew.
I'm still Michael.
And we'll see you sometime around the bend. We're going to be talking about a movie that's coming out. I think it's called the Star Wars. It's a big movie, apparently, that people like.
Is that like a spin-off of Star Trek?
I don't know. I guess I gotta go see it. And until the next time you see us, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, do all those things that you need you to do, and we'll see you next time on The Vine.
Follow me on Periscope.